going on, guys? Welcome to the Sunday drive. So recently I made a video. That was pretty harsh. Oh, that was loud. So recently I made a video basically on the parts breakdown list for the drop top, the S52 that I'm building for that. Whoa, doctor. And in that parts video, it was basically all of the components of the motor build that I'm going to be getting new, or most of them I'm going to be getting new. But I didn't really elaborate on what kind of parts I was using or going to be using for the motor. I just sort of wrote block, pistons, rods, things like that. I didn't really specify. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Sort of the whole build plan and what parts I'm actually going to be using on the car. So for starters, for the top end, I'm just going to be running an MLS head gasket and the ARP head bolts. As far as the top end goes, I haven't really touched it. I mean, it is an M3, so it has S52 cams, it has the M3 valve springs, all that good stuff. Because I'm not really modifying the RPM, I don't really need to do any valve train stuff like that, I guess. And S52 cylinder heads, the M52 cylinder heads already flow so freaking well, you don't really need to do much to them to make them like turbo ready, you know. So basically, aside from the head gasket and head bolts, the full top end is going to be stock. It will get an M50 manifold after I smog it and after the initial braking of the motor. Now the bottom end is where it gets fun, because I'm actually building this motor to withstand a lot of power, and because of that I need some stronger stuff in there, so we're getting some stronger goods. So I'm using the S52 crank that's already in the old motor, so I got to pull that out, send that in, might do some machine work on it depending on how bad it is. So we're going to be running the S52 crank. I got a set of Eagle rods, 135 millimeter. They're H-beam full forge, so they're going to be pretty freaking stout. And I believe the factory rods are 135 millimeters as well, so we're not really changing rod size. Where it does get interesting is the piston combo though. I'm having CP pistons made, and I've been talking with Brian from VAC Motorsports quite a bit about it, and just sort of getting the ratios and the sizes down. So the CP pistons are full forged pistons, which is awesome. It's going to be able to handle a lot of power. In addition to that, they're 8.5:1 compression, so that's their compression ratio. The factory M3s are 10.5:1, the factory S52, so about 2:1 drop in compression is going to be nice. It's going to resist a lot of knocking under boost, which means we can make more power basically without running into knocking issues. Now where it gets fun is the bore. These pistons are 85 millimeters, so that's the bore. The factory pistons are 86.4, I believe. So the pistons are actually going to be smaller around than the S52 pistons, which is good. It means the block will have thicker cylinder walls, which means that the block's going to be stronger. And when I was doing this, I thought about making a 2.8 liter S52 just for the extra cylinder wall thickness. Well, I don't know how that would work if I'd use 2.8 pistons in that, because I know the cranks are different and I believe the stroke is different. So I think if I use 2.8 pistons on an S52 block, it would be more than 2.8 liters of displacement. I don't know. They're 84 millimeter pistons. The ones I'm getting are 85. So the stroke is the same. I believe it's 89.6 millimeter stroke. And with the factory 86.4 millimeter pistons, that gives it a displacement of 3.2, right? Now in reality, it's not like a true 3.2. I believe it's 3.151 or 152. So it's actually a 3.15 liter inline six instead of an actual 3.2. That's for the factory S52s. So mine, with the smaller pistons, it actually gives it a displacement, a total CC rating of 3,051. Now if you're confused or don't know what I'm talking about, I get that. My point is, the turbo motor won't be 3.2 liters. It's actually going to be a 3.1 liter S52, which I think is pretty sick, because having the turbo, it's going to add torque and power, so I'm not really worried about losing like 0.1 liters of displacement, you know what I mean? But I think the confusing part is going to be like talking to people about my car. Oh yeah, it's a 3.1 liter. They're going to be like, oh no, S52s are 3.2s, bro. We'll be like, all right, bro. So because the pistons are gonna be smaller, I'm not gonna be able to use the M3 block, the S52 block, which is why I'm getting a different one. I'm gonna be getting an M52 B28 that I'm gonna be tearing down and using the block from that. So the M52 has 84 millimeter pistons, I believe. So the pistons I'm getting are 85. They're a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna have to bore and hone that block out, which is gonna be part of the machine work process. They're also gonna have to deck it. Hopefully they deck to 50 RA to get that full finish, the clean finish for the MLS, and I'm probably gonna have them line hone the main journals to get them all nice and true. But anyway, that decrease in displacement is gonna make the cylinder walls thicker, which means they're gonna be stronger basically. So it's gonna be a stronger motor due to the forged rods and the forged pistons and the decrease in cylinder wall thickness and the head gasket. So it's going to be a stout little motor. It's going to use ARP rod bolts and main bolts, which are going to be fun because I'm going to have to pull the oil pan and the valve cover off and retorque all of them after one heat cycle, which I'm not really excited about. But after that's all said and done, it'll be sick. And it's going to have brand new bearings, brand new rings. I'm going to have to gap the rings wider to accommodate for the boost, which means it's going to have more blow-by, which means higher crankcase pressures, which is kind of leading me into the PVC system I'm going to run, the crankcase ventilation. Now, I've been doing a good bit of research on it, and I still have quite a bit of research to do before I finalize and come up with a full plan for this. The factory PVC system doesn't handle boost at all. It's really bad for it. So you have to sort of create an aftermarket system. And I've been looking into like exhaust vacuum and all that stuff, but I think I'm gonna go with a vacuum pump, and I still have some more research to do on it, but I wanna run from the valve cover, and the oil dipstick tube has a little fitting down there, whatever, that it pulls vacuum from the bottom of the crankcase. I'm gonna route those to a baffled catch can, and then I'm gonna run vacuum to that from an external vacuum pump. So that's sort of like, nothing is really set in stone. That's just sort of the idea that I'm playing with right now. I still got to figure out how to make that happen. There are quite a few crankcase vacuum pumps that you can buy, like Summit Motorsport has them, and I've been looking into that and sort of how the whole system has to be set up. So I'm gonna probably talk with someone who knows what they're doing instead of me just going through forums. But I'm probably gonna wire it like to the fuel pump or run it off of the fuel pump relay. I might create an own relay for it. So basically it'll be running whenever it's on the keys in the run position. So whenever the fuel pump's running, the vacuum pump's gonna run too. So that's kind of the idea I have for it. Again, I do have to do a lot of research, so I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about yet. In addition to that, I ordered an ass load of parts. I ordered like the majority of the rest of the parts that I need for this build, so they're all coming, which is sick. And I got something super freaking hype for you guys. That's gonna help with the build a lot. It's gonna be clean. That'll be its own separate video, but one thing that did change is the clutch setup. I'm not going to be running an E34 M5 clutch kit and a lightweight flywheel. I found an ACT clutch kit that's good for about 545 foot-pounds of torque. And that's going to be more than enough when I'm running the car NA, and more than enough when I get it on the initial turbo setup. When I go big boost, I'm definitely not going to be running that clutch. And that's going to be a pain in the ass because I'm going to have to pull the clutch out and swap it with a new one. But I'm okay with that because right around there is where the factory transmission starts having issues and the differential starts having issues. The axle will have issues way before that. So basically, I'm going to have to upgrade the entire drivetrain of the car before I go big turbo and before I start putting down massive power. So I'm not tripping too hard about popping the clutch off if I'm going to be pulling the transmission out anyways. And about as far as the drivetrain goes, that's it. The rest of the components are just basically there to make it all work and work well. Things like gaskets, the pulleys are going to be new, the belts are going to be new, a lot of the sensors are going to be new, freeze plugs, gallery plugs, you know, stuff like that, stuff to make it all work. Now for the initial break-in of the motor, I'm going to be running it basically at full stock. The only difference is going to be, again, the internals and the hardware, but I'm not going to be running an oil cooler. I'm going to be running an M52 manifold, a full factory exhaust system, full factory intake system. The airbox is going to be stock injectors, all of that good stuff. That way the motor will be like in its natural condition, I guess you could say, for the break-in. I think it's going to be a little bit better that way. I'm going to try and pass smog with it. I don't know how well that's going to work out due to the compression drop, But I think having that PVC system not routing into the intake manifold is going to lower the some of the emissions. But I don't know. We're going to have to see and find out. As far as the motor assembly is, once that's done, that's it. That motor is going to be good for an ass load of power. The drivetrain will be good for up to 500, 550, something like that. So I can, once the motor is on and broken in, I can throw a turbo setup on it and make 400, 450 pretty safely, which is going to be pretty sick. So once I get that turbo set up on, get it all dialed, then we'll start doing drivetrain upgrades, and then we'll go big turbo, big boosts. It's going to be fun, I won't lie. I can't wait to start building this motor. So basically I just hang out and wait for parts. There's still a couple more parts that I do need to order and get. I need to get a drive shaft, I need to get a shift linkage and engine mounts. A couple other small things to make it all happen, but I can't wait. I still got to pick up another motor. I still got to pick up an S52 and then tear that down, but it's going to take a while to make the piston, so I'm holding out for that. Alright, I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.